Yes. New York.
Best in the business.
Ego.
The ego.
That's ego.
Ego.
Ego hit y'all with another one.
Grand opening, grand closing. My goodness. Edgar Berlanga gets slept. Hims was sleepy. Versus Hamzah Sheeraz in his very first fight at super middleweight. And in this video, I'm going to tell you what happened. Not only what happened, what really happened. Hamzah Sheeraz stepping up and stepping on Edgar Berlanga. So stay tuned. I will give you my truest thoughts when it comes to this fight. And stay tuned to the end so you know what really happened. Now, on my post-fight breakdowns, I like to often start with the good. I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So for me, the good is in order. I gotta give props to Hamzah Sheeraz. He's kind of a little known British fighter, right? And he was really coming off a bad performance, let's be real, which he talked about post-fight, which we'll get into in a second. And Hamzah Sheeraz fought Carlos Adames. I watched the fight live. I truly believe in my heart of all hearts that he should have lost the fight. This is at 160 pounds. No excuses. I think he said he was injured or weight was hard to make the weight. Whatever. He should have lost. You signed up for the fight. You went in the fight. And Carlos Adames should have beat you. Even his advisor, Turkey, was trying to help him post-fight. He was just like going to his corner late in the fight saying, hey, step on the gas. You need to knock out. Tell this guy to like step it up basically and try to knock out Adames. So you had all the help in the world. They gave you a draw, so you lucked out. You really didn't have a draw. Carlos Adames really beat you, right? So he was coming off a poor performance, and he even said post-fight, if it weren't for Turkey, he said, shout out to Turkey. If it weren't for Turkey, other promoters wouldn't have given me an opportunity like this. But I told him I wanted to fight, and he believed in me, and he gave me the fight and made it happen coming off of that bad performance. So he acknowledged that, and I like when fighters keep it real, acknowledged the fact that his Adames fight wasn't his best showing, right? It wasn't nothing like the Ammo Williams performance or some of his other performance. So there was a lot of pressure on Hamzah Sheeraz, we'll say. He was a road warrior where he did like a fellow Pakistani, Amir Khan, who was known for going to DC to fight Lamont Peterson in his backyard, things like that. And he did what Amir Khan did in the Peterson fight, but he actually stops Berlanga in Berlanga's backyard. Now, Berlanga's from Brooklyn, and this fight was in Flushing, pretty much Queens, but still in New York. And Berlanga was saying he's the king of New York and all that. So as a road warrior, Hamzah Sheeraz went in somebody's backyard and got the job done. So I got to give him props for, again, let's recap. You were coming off a bad performance where you really should have lost. Not only that, you moved up from middleweight to super middleweight, where Berlanga not only had the hometown advantage that I just went over, but he also had the weight advantage. Berlanga, there's reports that he was weighing 200 plus pounds when he fought Canelo and rehydrated. So Berlanga is a power puncher, and he was more acclimated to the weight. You fought in his backyard, and this was your first fight at the weight. And given the fact you were coming off a bad performance, 2 losses in a row is catastrophic. This ain't the UFC. So back-to-back losses in boxing, especially if they're bad losses. Like Berlanga's a knockout artist, right? He has power. So if Berlanga would have pulled the trigger and knocked Hamzah Sheeraz out, that would have spelled trouble, because it would have been you underperform versus Adama, and then if Berlanga was able to knock you out, that's 2 back-to-back horrible losses. But Sheeraz had other plans, so congratulations to him. He looked good. He boxed in the first couple rounds. Listen, there's not much to break down in the fight. Spoiler alert, not much to break down. The first 2 rounds were pretty boring. They were definite filler rounds. But what I noticed early on, where I was doing the watch party, I'm like, this could be a bad night for Berlanga, because he was having all the problems in the world with the taller opponent, right? You could tell immediately that Berlanga didn't really have the experience. I don't know Berlanga's camp or whatever, but it didn't look like he had preparation with long, taller, rangy guys, because he didn't look like he knew how to punch upward. There was a couple times where he shot the jab, but Berlanga was ultimately, in the first 2-3 rounds, he was having a really difficult time getting the right torque and trajectory on his punches. He looked like the height of Hamzah was bothering him. And almost when you're fighting a Paul Williams, a Caleb Smith, Tommy the Hitman Hearns, a Hamzah Sheeraz, right? Sebastian Fundora, right? When you're fighting these guys who are pretty tall for their division, literally, especially the lanky ones with power like Fundora and Hamzah Sheeraz, literally, and Tommy Hearns, literally the worst thing you could probably do as a shorter fighter is be on the outside, where if they go to throw, they can get some forward progress and momentum and get some good extension or full extension, and you're at the tip of their punches. So when I seen that, and Berlanga, he was trying to be mindful, then it started to open up about round 3 or 4, and I'm like, oh, he's playing with fire. Sure enough, Berlanga in the 4th round, he got clipped, which you guys seen at the beginning, and I kid you not, I tell you what really happened. They truly probably should have stopped the fight right then and there. Boxing is so weird, because some referees will stop fights and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, the fight could have clearly went on, and then they'll stop it. So it's like a premature stoppage. But then you see these fights like when Badu Jack had his forehead sliced up and he was bleeding profusely. I was at the fight. It was on Pacquiao Broner undercard. And they let Badu Jack go the full distance with Marcus Brown. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? Tim Tszyu Fundora, Tim Tszyu's head split open from an elbow, and they let the fight continue. And I'm like, what? So those are examples of fights that probably should have been stopped on account of pretty much medical injuries, right? And they let them continue. But they don't stop the fight. But then other fights, again, it'll be a premature stoppage. And then for this case, they allow Berlanga, who clearly, after he got dropped hard in the 4th round. His legs looked done, his awareness, and he was breathing heavy, and it didn't look good for him. When the teacher pops a test, no, I'm in a mess. Then my dog ate all my homework last night. Did it. Riding low in my chair. She won't know that I'm there. It's all right, cause I'm saved. He was saved by the bell. That's word to Zach Morris, Mark Paul Gosselier, and AC Slater and them. He was saved by the bell. He was getting cooked. It was at the tail end of round 4. It looked like it should have been stopped there, but maybe because he's the hometown guy in Queens and he had fought at the level with Canelo where he got dropped, they decided to, I guess, let him continue, which I don't know everything, but I know what I know. And I got to be real. This new generation is washed. This new generation of fighters, they don't have the same resolve as some of the fighters of yesteryear. So when I see Shakur Stevenson badmouthing Ray Robinson, I take that a certain way, because I'm like, you don't know how tough some of these other fighters were fighting 15 rounders, unlimited rounds, smaller gloves, no real rules. There probably wasn't no drug testing, so people were juicing, doing all types of crazy stuff, right? So to have guys, young guys, and they think like, oh man, Ray Robinson not good, stuff like that. I don't like that. I don't speak ill on the people who are no longer with us. And beyond that, I just feel like it's in poor taste because I feel like that past generation of fighters is way tougher. They know how to get through those moments. Do you understand some of the fights that I've watched? You look at some of the older fighters like Dwight Muhammad Kawhi, like different breed of fighter. Watch his fight with Foreman, watch his fight with Spinks, different, I'm promise you, different level of toughness. Like they taking shots and they know what to do. They just have better resolve. A lot of these younger fighters, when they're in bad trouble like this, they don't survive. They have no survival skills. They don't really know what to do to make it safe. Like I was literally on the watch party yelling, clinch, what are you doing? I understand you're hurt, you're buzzed, you probably don't have all your wits about you, but you have to go over that in training. Like Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather is a prime example. When he was badly hurt with Sugar Shane Mosley, he still operated like a professional and was able to make it out the round. These other dudes, it just looked like Angela Lansbury, Murder, She Wrote. You could tell that this ain't gonna last much longer. And that's exactly what it was. And I said that on the watch party. Then boom, very next round, Hamzah Sheeraz walks him down. He walks him down with the pole, walks him down with the stick, laces vicious combinations. He's pinballing Edgar Berlanga's head. I think Berlanga got dropped a total of 3 times. And it was over. The ref seen enough. Fight got stopped. Now, congrats to Hamzah Sheeraz. This is a devastating loss for Edgar Berlanga. Another bone to pick with this young generation is a lot of them are all about pizzazz and all about flash, but it's no substance beyond that. Like once you get past that layer, then what's your texture worth? Like what is it really? Berlanga, if you look at it, this is terrible for him because he's one fight removed from losing to Canelo. Then they give him a complete like cupcake. Some guy that was in prison for 10 years that was built like a Puerto Rican Hank Hill. God dang it, Bobby. Right? And he does a quick knockout dispatches of him. But this guy been in prison for 10 years. That's not impressive. Right? He was a complete like unknown and hadn't really been fight. He fought like one time in the last 12 years. So not really impressive. Then you step back up to a higher level and you let this British dude, Hamzah Sheeraz, come out pretty much in your backyard after talking mad trash. You were saying, oh, I'm about to upset Turkey's plans. You walked out with Fat Joe and Remy Ma. You said, this guy's a Muppet. I'm the king of New York. And you have all the flash. You can't have a performance like that. Like, Berlanga really didn't get nothing off. Like, it'd be one thing if it was like Tommy Hearns and Hagler, where, yeah, he got knocked out. Hearns got knocked out, but he was gunslinging until that point. You know what I'm saying? He was landing some nice stuff. Berlanga never really got into the fight. By the 4th round, he's getting dropped and pretty much put out because it was that first knockdown and being at the tip of his punches that really put him out. Another thing that shows like the whole flash over substance argument is Berlanga does this weird thing where it's like muscle memory, where he gets dropped hard and he starts banging his gloves, and he was rocked and it didn't even look like he looked like he was halfway sleepy, halfway conscious, and he started banging on his chest and stuff like that. So it's like, this is instinct for you. I get it, you have heart, but it's just it's a weird mechanism or body language that's not going to get you through the round. You have to work on like the clinching and, you know, low blow Hamzah Sheeraz or whatever you have to do, put him in a headlock, something to not get knocked out like that. But it was the writing was on the wall after round 4, and I knew it wasn't going to last longer, and I was right. because right after that, Berlanga doesn't have the style or resilience to deal with that. Like he was squared up, his head was getting rocked up, and blah blah blah. He was taking some big shots. I really don't even know where he goes from here, to be honest. And it was a dangerous gamble. And again, you can't talk all this stuff. I showed you the clip at the beginning when Tank had a tough fight with Lamar Roach. There go Berlanga. He was talking bad about Tank because him and Tank don't get along. And he was like, man, you weak, you do, and cussing at the camera, talking about how weak Tank Davis was. But guess what? Even the Tank Roach fight, that didn't look like that. Like Hamzah Sheeraz, you let a guy come across the pond from Great Britain, where they're not considered necessarily to have more dog than American fighters, come to your backyard and, lace your boots and knock you out in a vicious fashion. So again, credit to Hamzah Sheeraz. He literally did something that even Canelo Alvarez didn't do. Canelo dropped he dropped Edgar Berlanga one time. Hamzah Sheeraz had like 3 drops and a stoppage in round 5. Now, I don't like triangle theories. You could argue that possibly the Canelo fight took something away from Berlanga because he was undefeated when Canelo fought him. But I just think Berlanga is who he is. And it kind of just goes to show you that's the fight that Canelo Alvarez gave us instead of the fight that everyone wanted, which was David Benavidez. He'd rather pick Munguia and then befriend him, and then Munguia pop dirty. And Munguia, formerly from 154. He'd rather fight the likes of Berlanga, who don't really have much defense and kind of flat-footed. And now you got upstaged by Hamzah Sheeraz in terms of he was able to get him out, whereas you went to 12 rounds with them, right? Turkey took to social media and says Hamzah Sheeraz has earned an opportunity at Canelo. I mean, I don't know exactly why he's puts the fights out before, because last time I checked, Canelo's fighting Crawford. Are we just assuming Canelo beats Crawford? Or are you, because Hamzah Sheeraz becomes the mandatory for the WBC belt. So what if Crawford beats Canelo? Because some people are picking him to beat him. Then wouldn't Crawford need to fight Hamzah Sheeraz? You know what I mean? So I don't really get why he put that out and said that he's earned a shot, because if Canelo loses, then Hamzah Sheeraz won't be his mandatory. He'll be Crawford's mandatory. So how do we get Canelo versus Hamzah Sheeraz unless you believe Canelo retains his belt? Because if he loses, I mean, if Canelo loses to a 147-pound Crawford, I mean, who really wants to see him fight a 6'4" Hamzah Sheeraz? I don't know. So I feel like the only way you can make that fight and make it make sense is possibly if Canelo beats Crawford. So that's why I don't like prematurely putting the fights out there. But congrats to Sheeraz. He did his thing, and he gets to reap all the benefits. That flight home is not going to be bad. He a clean-cut dude. He has a good style. He had a brand new trainer, Andy Lee. I like what I've seen from both of them. Andy Lee's a good trainer. I also really like Andy Lee as a fighter, even his fight with Chavez Jr., right? And, he took a big risk fighting someone in their backyard with a new trainer, new weight class, a lot of new beginnings, and he came out on the winning side. Berlanga, I really don't know where he goes from here, especially like it's a personality thing. When you have the villain role or the flashy, flamboyant guy, it's watered down when you take bad losses like this. Like even Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor was, I don't know what you're taking. Who the f hear that? Shut your fucking mouth, mate. You'll do none your mouth. You know what I mean? Like Conor was on top of the UFC and MMA. But after he kept losing, like to Khabib Nurmagomedov and Poirier and stuff like that, the trash talk don't hit the same from the flamboyant guys. It only kind of works when you're Floyd Mayweather, right? And you just keep talking it and nobody dogs you, and you kind of end your career undefeated type thing, right? Adrian Broner, when he was winning, it was great, the trash talk, but then the trash talk after you lose to Maidana, lose to Mikey Garcia, lose to Pacquiao, it don't hit the same. You know what I mean? And that's just what it is. So Berlanga trying to embrace that WWE and that flash and that panache. I don't see where you go from here. Like, oh, I'm the king of New York still, even though I got knocked out in New York. You feel me? Like, what do you, that nobody's gonna really buy that. You stepped up to Canelo, lost. Stepped up to Sheeraz in his first fight, got cooked even worse. You know, it's gonna be a long road back. And he was talking about fighting all these fights. You know, I guess maybe a Caleb Plant fight because he's coming off a loss too. I don't know. I don't know what the interest level is for something like that now, coming off of a destructive loss. But we'll leave it at that. And that's what really happened. Subscribe.